Hello, and thank you for listening to Willow Talk. We're back with a bumper episode, and this time of year, you'd imagine that all episodes are bumper. This one is absolutely in that category. Adam Peacock, alongside Elisa Healy, who has, unlike Ben Stokes' bat in Pakistan, landed again. She's landed back in Australia. How are you, Heels?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. As good as can be.
Yeah, fair enough. We'll get into the... I'm sorry I've got to bring it up.
That's
I've
all
got to
right.
bring up the T20
And more so for
World Cup.
Hads's. More so for Hads's.
Well,
pleasure.
Brad
Got
Haddon
not much
here.
today.
Brad Haddon here, and I just want to bring up one thing. It's a big happy birthday to an Ashes legend, a pioneer, revolved in some parts of the British southern colonies, Douglas Jardine. A big happy birthday to Douglas Jardine, and also Bradley Haddon, who reaches the ripe old age of 47, closing on the half century. Happy birthday, mate.
Thank you, 47 years young, and thank you to all our New Zealand listeners for. It's been a very pleasant week, actually. Thanks for the well wishes.
Oh, we were almost going to. We were like one half step away from recording an emergency podcast with Brad Haddon, just to get your feeling. Within 12 hours, New Zealand pantsed India in the blokes over there in a test match for the first time since you were in high school.
36 years.
Exactly. And New Zealand won a World Cup as well. That's not a great outcome for you.
It wouldn't have been
good
great for radio because I was in a fetal position.
Well,
So you wouldn't have got much out of me.
between your birthday and those events unfolding, I'm surprised that you came today, to be honest.
self. Yeah.
Well, you got to aim up, don't you? You got to sometimes take it.
There was very nearly, and I did accidentally forget, but it wouldn't have been the greatest visual joke for a podcast, an audio product, but I did nearly go and get you a punnet of kiwi fruit as a birthday present. Do you like kiwi fruit?
Nope.
Just because
I've
it's
never
called
tasted it out of The kids wouldn't even know what it is either.
Right.
I'll tell you what,
I
thank God,
do like kiwi fruit, actually.
thank God for England and Pakistan, otherwise we wouldn't be here.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
And there's a test series coming up. India
yeah.
rolled for 40 odd, won the toss and batted. So we can talk about other things.
Well, there's so much to talk about. We will talk about New Zealand's remarkable T20 World Cup win and the
God.
start of the WBBL, which is just around the corner. Cricket moves fast. We'll talk about Australia's ongoing search for a test opener and domestic cricket. We have dead set thrown up about 15 names in the pre-production meeting for, would he work as a test opener?
Or Davey, would he work?
Oh, he's come back. He's exhumed himself. He's like the Undertaker in WWE. Yeah, wow, what a story that was. We're going to discuss some truly remarkable results in international cricket, as you pertain to, and also finish with our sundries and a brilliant story, it's a beauty, about a super sub from a few years ago. But it is a cracker from one of our listeners. Now, before we get into it, and thank you if you've rated, reviewed, and followed Willow Talk on the Listener app, Apple or Spotify. We're on 154 reviews on Apple. We're setting a target of 200 by the time the 6th test of the summer ends at the MCG. You're nodding there, aren't you? You like that
I know what
touch?
that means.
Hey, you like
If
that
if they don't know what that means, look it up.
touch? Exactly. How dare you if you don't know what
Yeah,
that
that's
means?
it.
And if you haven't already, drop us a review and we'll read it out if appropriate, of course, or we can censor it and get through it. As for Spotify, we're on 538 ratings. Now, producer Sam's gone big here. We want to get that to 708 by the end of the test summer, the great SK Warne. That points towards. Also, feel free to leave us a comment on the episodes. Now, Steed Hardcastle. Yep, Steed Hardcastle commented on the episode with Paul Blocker Wilson. Steed says, "What an unreal episode. Blocker is an absolute joy to listen to. Would love to hear more of your stories. Thanks, team. Keep up the good work." Thank you for that beautiful sentiment. Steed, you have the best name I think I've ever heard. Certainly I've heard this year. Steed Hardcastle.
You get
Especially
him on the
when
show.
we're in the carnival at the moment.
Yeah. Horse Hardcastle. That's... Well, his parents, when they named him, they just went, let's really double down on this great last name that we've got going and just give him something.
Why
Right.
don't they just name him Horse?
They
Maybe
just
that's
won.
the
They just
nickname.
won a trifecta, first four or something.
Steed Hardcastle. Mate, no, appreciate the kind words and thank you very much for that and hope you're enjoying this episode. Also, keep on sending in your club cricket caps to producer Sam for us to wear in the studio, mailing details in the episode notes, and finally a shout out to Stan and the Wanderers Cricket Club in South Africa. He's working his way up the grades, currently in thirds. And from Colorado, shout out to Scott, who finally cracked first grade for the Rockies Cricket Club. This is worldwide love coming in for
Wow.
Willow Talk.
How good.
Love it. Love it. From South Africa to the US and everywhere in between. Send us a DM on TikTok or Instagram for a shout out. Find us by searching Willow Talk Podcast. Okay.
Can we talk about how picturesque the cricket ground must be in Colorado?
Yeah. That's
Why don't we have cricket there?
that's up there with the ground in the very north of India, Dharamshala. Yeah, you reckon?
Yeah, and
Maybe
want-
Scott can host us.
Hmm.
Willow Talk on tour.
Well, maybe we can throw that out there, Sam. We've been trying to get on tour. We're knocked back going to New Zealand, but Colorado, I'm in.
I think in
Like
like
a round trip.
like Dharamshala as well. They've the tobacco has a funny whiff
Very
in that part of the
relaxed.
world.
There
Yeah,
you go.
very relaxed part of the world. Anyway, let's get to some news.
Have
and
to wait till heels
let's
retires.
talk some topics right now. Opener watch. Steve Smith. Firstly, Steve Smith. He opened up on his move down the order, and he said after day 2 of the Shield game at the MCG.
Yeah, I got asked where I'd prefer to bat, and I said 4. I didn't ask, but I also said I'm happy batting wherever. I'm not really too fussed. Got asked where my preference would be, and I said 4. So I saw a few things last week saying that I requested to bat at 4. That wasn't the case. I said I'm happy to bat wherever you like me to bat, but 4 would be my ideal position. Obviously, there's a spot there now with Greenie out, and I think just conversations we had after New Zealand with particularly Marnus and Uzi, they hated me up top, to be honest. They wanted me behind them, so that was a big part of it. And then obviously I've got a decent record at 4.
Now, I'm confused. Can you give any kind of clarity to what Smudge is saying here? Whose idea was it? Primarily, does it really matter? It looks like he's going to bat 4. This is just weird. All of it.
Oh, there's obviously a conversation happening somewhere, whether it's offline, formal conversations, and I think the bottom line with all of it, he said, is we've got the result that I think's best for the team.
Mm.
Steve Smith's going back to 4, where he's got unbelievable numbers, feels most comfortable. The interesting one, Marnus and Uzi, like him behind him. Which I can understand a little bit. It allows you to play with a little bit more freedom up the top when you've got someone like Steve Smith. But end of the day, I think we've got the result we want. We just can't find an opener. We can't pick an obvious choice. I dare say the Australian selectors will know.
More on that in a moment, but what's your take, Heels, on Steve's summation of his move back down and what he asked for or what he didn't ask for?
Well, yeah, look, it's a weird one, but I mean, they asked him in the first place. They asked the question and he said he'd do it. And then maybe they've asked him again and he said, well, he's obviously said I'll bat wherever I fit. But I don't know. It's just you're right. It's an odd scenario, and it's one that we spoke about when it first happened. Is this going to be a 12-month thing? Is it going to be until the end of his career sort of thing? And now we're in the same position as what we were not that long ago, where we're looking for another opener. So whether we could have taken the punt back then and gone and picked a player 12 months ago and gone, we'll stick with this person for a long period of time, but instead we took the punt on Steve. Now he's going back to 4, which is exactly what Had said. It's a good result for our side, but now we're in the same boat again.
I mean,
and we have headlines about it, so it's just more frustrating heading into a summer.
I guess anyone else, you look straight through it and you go, oh, that ain't quite right. But Steve Smith is a different thinker. So he could easily have said, I don't care, and easily have said, I want to. You don't know where the actual truth lies because he's different.
I think the truth is exactly what Smith said. Mate, I'll open. He actually doesn't really care. Like he opens in 2020 cricket, one-day cricket. He doesn't care. He's 3 for New South Wales in his Shield game. And it would have been, where's your preferred spot? Oh, well, I do like 4. And I haven't heard many people not say, I don't like 4. It's a pretty good spot to bat. But I wouldn't read too much into it. We just got, as I said, we just got to find an opener.
You as a captain, if a player comes to you and says, I want to bat here, does it totally depend on status or overall mix for the team?
A little bit of status.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not asking people where they want to bat unless they're good enough to be asked that question, I would have thought. But But I mean, I get it. Hads has been chirping at me forever to open the
Makes that
batting in
happening,
red ball
actually.
cricket because he reckons it's the best place to bat. But it's not that easy. How come you never did it?
I was scared. I was out scared of the ball.
It's not that easy. So let's go with someone who's been doing it.
Just on Steve Smith before we move on to the opener conundrum for the Australian Test side. His second innings LB at the
Oh, dear.
MCG, out or not out?
Out.
Yeah, looked out.
Very out.
Mate,
Yeah.
when you're not playing a shot, you leave yourself the hands of the umpire, and that's what he did. That they showed a willingness in the first innings to give close ones.
Mm.
Yeah, he didn't look happy though.
It looked. I spent a lot of the day on the couch yesterday after flying in, watching the cricket on the telly, and it looked.
Didn't play golf.
Nah, it looked very, very adjacent. I will say that.
Yeah.
But
Looked like it
do
was
you
gonna
reckon
hit
he's
the
faced a
stumps.
lot of Scott Boland in the nets because you know exactly what Scott Boland's trying to do there, and
Yeah. And didn't he
He's
bowl well just quietly?
bringing the ball back into the right-handers is basically what he does best. So maybe think about getting your bat down.
Yes, exactly. Who's who was the most reluctant that you've seen to accept a decision? Who let it linger the most? You know, when you get back to the
McGrath.
sheds. McGrath.
He used to hope that McGrath got a bad decision because he'd come back with the shits. Then he'd go out there and all of a sudden you'd have the opposition 3 for nothing. So, mate, for someone who was batting with the wrong hand through his whole international career, he's the best change room batter left-handed ever. Steve Waugh used to say, McGrath's not that bad. He's just using the wrong hand. Mate, when he used to get out, he was fuming. Everyone used to stand back and go, how good is this? Slips, get ready. Behind the stumps, get ready because McGrath's on.
What about the walls of the change room? Did they ever cop some treatment with the bat flying through the
No,
air?
you don't throw your bat. Sometimes it has.
Well-
I've seen actually people kick helmets and hit the other guy in the head and breaks the room. I've seen cricket equipment go into the toilet and try to flush it. I've seen players sit in the shower on a chair
Yeah.
just with their whole kit.
Yeah, that's cliche, that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny.
That's
though.
called retirement.
Does this happen in the women's game as much as it obviously does in the men's?
No, not as much. But I'm just trying to think of like the equivalent in our game who was never out, and I can't really recall too many. But the few in club cricket were never out. But
Never.
Right, opener. Who is it?
Oh.
Can we find someone, please? Let's have a little look at the tail of the tape from this Shield round as we try and get towards the end of it. Cam Bancroft hasn't batted in the second dig against Tasmania as we sit here and record. However, Marcus Harris, 26 and 16, New South Wales. Bancroft, 8 against Tassie. Constas, 2 and 43 against Victoria. Nick Maddo, 19 and 15 against Victoria. Matt Renshaw, 2 and 21 against South Australia. None of that screams pick me, but you just have this feeling that the Australian selectors already know.
I think they do.
Well, they have to know.
Yeah.
You don't when you're planning for big series like the Ashes, World Cup, and India. They know exactly who their opener is going to be.
Yep.
It was going to be Steve Smith with Cam Green at 4,
No, it wasn't. Steve Smith was always going to 4.
going back down.
Yeah,
So-
and
That's the thing, though. That's what's confused everything. Cam Green.
well, I don't think it has. It's only confused us from the outside. I think Australia are really clear. The name that interests me is Mitch Marsh. Like, does he go up and you play a style where you take the game on? Does it have to be an opener? Like I've seen in my time, Uzi, Caddo, even JL. He was your number 3, opened a little bit, but all these batters here are openers. So does it have to be an opener? Like the form batters in the competition. Well, Inglis, Carey, who's already in, the young kid, the captain of South Australia, McSweeney.
McSweeney.
So there's a lot of options there. Bo Webster, who we spoke to. So does the opener have to be a specialist opener? If it is, and the numbers aren't adding up, well, maybe we need to blood someone over 30, under 30, because everyone is over 30. So does that make Sam Constance the favourite?
Yeah, it's a weird one. I think first and foremost they're going to look at who's going to complement the side the best and what sort of style of cricket they want to play. I'm not going to bring up the stupid Bazball, but it's almost that's got to be first and foremost your decision. Who's going to complement the rest of the batters around the group? that's why I think Nick Maddinson comes into play a little bit, because he's a slightly more aggressive. You're not necessarily going to go like for like with David Warner. I don't necessarily think that he has to be the next David Warner, but at least if you've got someone playing some shots a little bit, put the pressure on back on one of the best bowling attacks in the world, that would be the ideal. But whether it has to be an opener or not, I'm not sure. But like I said, they're coming up against a really, really good bowling attack, so you probably want to pick someone who's been doing it.
That's the thing. You're coming up against arguably the best fast bowler in the world right now, Jasprit Bumrah.
Yeah.
With all due respect to the guys that wear the baggy green, but this guy is as good as you're going to face anywhere, anytime if he's at his best. So do you worry about that aspect when you're choosing, or you purely look at yourself and say, we want the best 6 batters and this person is in the best 6, not an opener, is an opener, whatever, he's in.
But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, I think, which decision you make. You've got to stick with it. And we haven't traditionally done that too well in the past. When a new opener's come in, they haven't quite done well. We've said something about them in the media or whatever's happened.
Like a Joe Burns, for instance.
Yeah, and all of a sudden they're out of the side, and it's
Yeah.
like, well, that's not fair. So if you are gonna go someone young in particular, you need to stick with them for a long period of time, give them the opportunity, knowing how hard this summer's going to be. Or you go with someone who's probably a bit more comfortable in who they are at the moment. Constance looks good, don't get me wrong. I enjoy watching him bat, but I think he needs to play a little bit more cricket first.
Yeah, you just get the feeling if this was 12 months ago and he was building, maybe they would have thrown him straight in against let's face it, Pakistan, not exactly the reputation of India. Last summer, maybe throw him in. This one, are they a little more hesitant because of the opponent?
Well, it's interesting with younger players, and you got to remember back to yourself when you first started, you were fearless. You're not worried that if Bumrah's up the top or Hazelwood or Cummins. You're just batting. You've got no demons in your head. What creates demons is when you start to get a little bit of doubt. Like at the start of your career, you're a better batter than you are at the end, but you're a better player. That makes sense right at the end of your career. You understand more about how to play momentum and things. But at the start of your career, you got more shots. You play with more freedom. And maybe someone like Constant, that's exactly what you need. And you've got to look at other things as well. All these guys are over 30, so they're going to retire. Like Uzi might retire around the same time as Steve Smith. Marsh, he's getting on. You don't know what's going to happen with his body. So you'd rather throw a kid in with an experienced or a very, very good Australian team than throw him in when they all go. So I'm leading towards someone younger. And Sam, to me, if you're looking for a pure opener, his style suits what Australia are looking for, I think.
It's ignited the Shield season, though. Like, I don't think we've had this much attention on Sheffield. Like, there's Steve Smith doing press conferences after day one of a Shield match. When was the last time? And it got mass media coverage. So it's great. Everyone loves the Shield, especially right now with all these questions that seemingly unanswerable until the team squad is named in a couple of weeks' time. There is also, for the opener spot, a little upstart from the young upstart, young up-and-comer, great prospect from the east of Sydney. David Warner is his name. He threw his name in the ring in an interview with Willow Talk favourite Ben Horn through the week. Just to quickly go through, I'm always available. Just got to pick up the phone. I'm always dead serious. Let's be honest. The guys have played one red ball game, the first round of the Sheffield Shield, since their last test matches in February. So I've almost had the same preparation. My hand is up. If they desperately need someone, I'm not going to shy away from that.
How good. I love just how he just keeps stirring the pot. David's not going to open. He's retired. He did the same thing with the one day. Oh, if they need me, I love how he's just playing little games.
He's not doing the Wolf of Wall Street, Leo DiCaprio scene where I'm not effing leaving up the front, mate, just like and everyone's cheering again.
I love it that it's front page news. He gets people thinking about it. Talk. It was on the way in and getting up early this morning. It was all over morning radio, mate. He's sitting back having a laugh. How good.
Not happening though.
No, he's not playing.
Not happening. Fair
It's
enough.
not happening.
Okay, well, if we don't know, if we can't predict, we're told in the modern age that AI can do anything for us. So what we've done, this is another Producer Sam initiative. He's gone with 3 AI programs to pick Australia's Test 11 for the first test in Perth.
Yep.
The only prompt we gave AI was not to include Cameron Green because he's injured and David Warner because he is retired. Or is he? No, he is retired. So OpenAI ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, and Google Gemini were the three we used. They're all pretty similar. Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, went with Sam Constas. The other two went with Marcus Harris to open. All the way down. So
Copilot did go Steve Smith at 3, though, and he's already come out and said he's batting 4. So Copilot, get it right.
Well, Copilot's got Mitch Marsh above Travis Head in the order as well. They've all got Stark, Cummins, Lyon, Hazelwood in the lineup, apart from Gemini, who's chucked in Scott Boland. Gemini obviously has got a relationship with the Perth groundsman there at Optus, and I can only assume that a green seam is being produced for the opening test because he's got Stark, Cummins, Boland, Hazelwood in there, he or her, and got Carey at 6.
AI's wrong.
Don't mind that side.
No, if you look at Google, if it's a green seamer, you don't play 4 quicks.
No, you don't need 4
No,
quicks,
you
right?
play less than
Yeah.
an extra
You
batter.
need another batter.
The closest one is Microsoft, I think, with Sam Constance opening.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Steve at 4. Just flip that, and it's almost right.
Yeah, and Marsh at 6 and Head at 5.
It's interesting that both have gone Marcus Harris, and you could probably understand why. And
Numbers.
he hasn't really,
Yep.
yeah, but he hasn't come up in conversation a lot, which I've found quite fascinating. But yeah, I mean, if he had blown this Shield game out of the water, it would have been an interesting discussion.
Josh Inglis wasn't mentioned by any of the AI programs, probably because his red ball pedigree, especially for Australia, is non-existent. However, I mean, what he's doing with the bat at the Shield at Shield level at the moment is the business. Now, if this was an opener or a number 4-5 batter, specialist batter, you'd be screaming from the rooftops to get him in. But because he's a wicketkeeper as well,
Can I throw something out there?
yeah,
And I don't want this to become a headline, so just edit it out, Sam.
No, don't edit it out.
no,
Could you see a scenario where Marnus Labuschagne isn't in the team and Josh Inglis is?
Oof.
Because Josh Inglis is in red hot form, and people are starting to think, will he come into the side as a bat? Yep. Who for?
you can't say something like that.
Well,
and
you
not
can't-
expect it to be.
You're
a
not
headline.
leaving. You're not leaving Steve Smith out. You're not leaving Travis Head out. You're not leaving Mitchell Marshall, one of the all rounders, out. You're not leaving Alex Carey out.
Mhm.
So that's left you with an opening spot or number 3.
Didn't you see Marnus Labuschagne bowl his medium paces as well? That's a good
Yes,
option
we
too.
did.
We did.
Longer run up than Brett Lee on
Yeah.
some of them.
And I wouldn't want to see it happen, but I'm like, is there a scenario where Marnus isn't in the team?
I don't think so. Not this summer. He'd like some runs.
Mm.
I thought for a while back that he could have been a chance to open. Steve Smith's best position is 3.
Mm.
He's got the best
Yeah.
average. He's the best player. Maybe Marnus wants to get out there early, but I think they're settled on their 3, 4, 5, and 6. This is whether Mitch Marsh
But that's
keeps
the-
coming to me as if everything with Green was in, the option I seen as opener was Mitch. He plays fast bowling well. It'll suit the style of game against India to take the fast bowling on, and he plays fast bowling well.
And he starts at home.
Starts at home, doesn't bowl much, so that doesn't really come into the equation.
Would you put Mitch at the top with Josh in the form he's in
Yeah.
with the bat
That's
at 6?
That's something you could look at because you want your 6 to be a game changer.
Yeah.
But it depends on also how many overs you want out of your 6.
Yeah.
Like Aaron Hardy's name is another one that could come up. Bo Webster could come up at 6 as well. Like as I said at the top, it doesn't have to be an opener.
Would Mitch Marsh still be able to bowl if he opened the batting? I mean,
Well,
we could keep and do it, so we're fine. But
Yeah.
Oh, look at
he's
us
got to
go.
still be able to bowl, right?
Well,
Is that too much load?
Well, he doesn't actually bowl much, Mitch.
Yeah.
Like he actually, if yes, he's capable and he's very, very good when he does have the ball in the hand and gives you a different option because he swings it, but he doesn't bowl that much.
10 to
And if
12
he-
overs an
And
innings.
if he goes at the top, the one that comes in could be a batting all rounder like a Webster
Yeah.
or
Hardy.
Hardy or someone like that. So all of a sudden you've got the overs and Mitch can just solely focus on batting. I like the way Mitch plays fast bowling.
Mhm.
I really like it. And the intent he'd show at the top. And one thing David Warner did, he put fear in opposition
Yep.
if he got going. If Mitch hit a couple of good pull shots and a drive, all of a sudden you test how reactive the captain is. And we've seen that from India in the past where they've seen a couple of boundaries, they put 2 out square, put a deep point. All of a sudden the game opens up in front of you. And at the other end, we know when Aussie gets into his bit of his bubble, he's hard to move.
So once again, he said he's had 2 really big nibbles at a point of view about who's going to open.
Yeah.
And we've got no clarity on which one
No.
he prefers.
It was Sam
Marsh or
Constas.
Constas?
And then,
Well, you threw 15 names at me. At least I narrowed it down to 2. So at least someone's...
and I've made a
you-
headline.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you got Marnus
let me
playing
put it
grade
out
cricket
there.
when the
Marnus
first
should
test
be
is
in the
on.
side. But I was curious. Like, but if Marnus and Steve Smith don't make runs this summer, what happens?
Good question.
God help us.
Good question. Yeah, what happens? India going home with a bloody
Yeah.
big trophy again. Alex Carey, got to mention this, how he's going with the bat. It's giving the Australian order how it looks for this Test series a lot more of a solid look, given his touch with the bat. He's like he's finished his dig earlier in the year in New Zealand, just continued on when the red ball stuff started again with the Shield cricket. 123 not out in this game against Queensland to go with the 90 and 111 in the first game against New South Wales. Wow.
I think Alex Carey's at an age now in his game, he's played enough where he's just really comfortable with the style of play he wants to play. When he started his career, he didn't know whether he wanted to hang around or change the momentum of the game. I think now he's really comfortable with everything that's happening. The way he's batted in Shield cricket, with changed momentum and been able to continue on and get hundreds and 90s. Like the game against New South Wales, he was outstanding. When everyone's sort of trying to survive, he was playing a different game. So I just think he's at a stage where if he's really comfortable. And being in his position also in my career, Josh Inglis is playing really well. So you've got some pressure on you. So you've got to say, I can worry about that. Or if I just worry about myself, score as many runs as you possibly can and be the best player, he can score 1,500s. And he's not going to take Alex Carey's spot. So that's the way he's playing. I take my hat off to him.
It's cool. It's nice to see.
Henry Hunt, this game at the Gabba, a few more storylines out. Henry Hunt, brother of Claire, the Matilda, 136 at the Gabba. Yes, travelled a lot as kids to get to various sporting places, and good to see them both succeeding at what they've chosen to do. Bulls quick, Tom Whitney, no relation to Mike, I dare say, given that Tom's from Queensland and Mike didn't like anyone not from New South Wales. So, 5 for on debut, 8 wickets for the match. So well done, Tom.
He looked quick on the footage. He looked sharp.
And speaking of sharp, Michael Neser, in 2 of the 3 innings he's bowled in Shield cricket so far this season, he's taken a wicket with the first ball because poor old Henry copped one from Michael in the second dig there for South Australia. So, Neser's in the frame too if something happens to the frontline bowlers or all-rounders or whatever like that. He's always in the frame, Michael Neser.
I think he'll play a test this summer.
Yeah?
With the way Alex Carey's playing it. And depending on what the surface, so if you get a really, really flat surface and Mitch is not bowling that much, Neser comes into the equation. He could bat at 7 in a test match. Carey could play at 6 for a one-off test. Then you got the option, had the 4 quicks, lino. So I don't rule him out on a really, really flat surface where you back your top 5 to get all the runs, but you need bowling options.
But Boland would be the first choice if it's just a straight in for one of the 3.
Well, I think if one of the big 3 got injured, then Boland's in the discussion. But I'm saying more of an all-rounders role.
Yeah.
Like I think the test team could look different this summer from the first test to the 4th, depending on the surface because Green's out. Because all these 3 quicks want to play every test match, and we want them to. But that might mean we have to really consider Neser to take some load off the bowlers just to get 15 overs, 10 overs, maybe a really flat MCG if it is.
Didn't look so flat the game they've just played there. Fergus O'Neill in that one took 4 for 29 from 17 overs. The Ford Falcon, as he's known. Sean Abbott 5 for 62, and another young up and comer, Mitchell Stark with 6 for 81 in that one as well. But Victoria got it done over New South Wales by 141 runs. Sorry, Hads.
Not a good week.
Not a good week at all.
It's so sad.
New Zealand winning anything, and New South Wales got absolutely pumped by the Vicks. at the
Oh, under
MCG.
13's rep team. I helped coach. We had our first win, actually.
Yeah, against all odds. WA Tassie, WA went into the final day in the absolute box seat, but as we sit here right now, it's collapso time for WA against Tassie. So they're 4 down as we sit here and record this right now. So by the time you listen to it, you'll know the truth, what exactly has happened. And
Is Inglis in?
Yes, he
No,
is.
They're fine.
They're
WA
home
win.
at the
Next.
moment. Sorry, Josh Inglis.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's going to go one way or the other, that one.
Oh, boy. And Queensland, by the way, as we sit here right now, 6 wickets in hand. They need 265 runs to win against South Australia. Ryan Harris could be in for a very big evening if it goes to plan for him right there. So that's the update of the Shield and all the permutations around the Australian selection going forward.
I don't think we've given anyone any answers, by the way.
No, we've just had a good time talking about it.
You said it's been a tough week.
Yeah.
I'm just seeing some light at the end of the tunnel.
No, you haven't. Have you
No,
seen the next item?
No, I have. Before we get there, I have. So Inglis is getting runs. Carey's getting runs. Philippi's getting runs.
The keepers are on
Jimmy
fire.
Pearson, unbelievable catches to start. So you know what?
The
We're
keepers
in
are-
good
yeah,
hands.
literally.
Our top 6 will feature 4 wicket keepers for the summer.
Just pick a keeping 11.
Can't
We'll get
pull
the
it.
job done.
Can't pull it.
Get Hads back out to bowl his flippers.
Yeah.
What do you bowl, by the way?
Anything you need. I'm versatile.
Anything you need and nothing you want?
Bumpers.
Anything, yeah.
That kind of thing?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
bumpers?
Neil Wagner style. Like slow at the body.
Women's T20 World Cup. New Zealand win their maiden Women's T20 World Cup
we
in the
gloss
early
this
hours
bit?
of Monday morning. What is this result for women's cricket, Heels? So New Zealand beat South Africa. I don't think it's a Quinella anyone would have picked before the tournament. Maybe South Africa, you were mentioning them as definite contenders for semi-finals and
Yep.
maybe something else. But is this result going to be looked back on as, oh, that's a bit of an outlier, or where things started to twist and everything became really open every World Cup we go to?
Oh, look, I think when we lost the semi, it was kind of a moment where we go, you know what, there could be a first-time winner of this tournament in the final if the Kiwis knocked off West Indies in the semi, which they did. So there was an air of kind of, this is really cool. It's great for the game that teams are getting better and challenging more. But at the same time, I mean, the White Ferns, they've come from nowhere. They lost 10 on the trot, T20s coming into this summer. Spoke to them the day of the final and quite literally was like, is there any point in the last 12 months you thought you'd be playing in a World Cup final? And they were all like, no. So it's a weird result, I'll put it that way. But I mean, full credit to them. They turned up when it mattered the most and they got the job done.
Is Amelia Kerr going to show up for night 1 of the WBBL, or is she still
We'll
going to
find-
be over the limit?
They play against India tomorrow in an ODI series. So they're
Oh,
still,
sorry, she misses the
they're
start.
still on the piss. But Kerr will come in.
But it's
hot
good
off
for the
that.
Sixers getting a player like that,
Yeah.
player of the tournament, took wickets for fun and had a really big influence, player of the match in the final.
Yeah, she had a great tournament. Great for the Sixers. We need all the help we can get. But look, I just thought it was a really cool tournament. The conditions were hard. I mean, you look at the 4 players that came down to play the tournament. 4 bowlers. Kerr was probably the only one that was going to win it because she bats as well. But there were 4 bowlers on there, which meant it was hard going for the batters. But cool tournament to be a part of. Wasn't easy, but congrats to New Zealand.
Wasn't easy with. Wasn't easy with. It's his birthday. Jeez, we're making it a memorable one.
Laying him in.
Congratulations.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
You know what I liked about the tournament?
What?
And Heels might shoot me when I get off. You used to go into the women's tournament and you know Australia in the final and England's going to play them. Or India.
Not really.
Well,
It's
you
not
were
always
in,
the case.
well, how many finals you won? But now there's
You missed one, didn't you?
yeah.
Yeah, we lost
But
one.
now, like you look at South Africa, New Zealand in the final, you turn up to these tournaments and you have to be on your game. Like Australia has to be on their game. They've got to keep moving their style of game forward. They've set the benchmark for 100 years. But now you've got teams competing, which is good for international cricket. I know you sit here now and you think, shit, should I have played? Or a lot can go through your head. But it's good for the game that New Zealand come off 10 straight, found a way to get tournament play right.
Well, that's what probably stings us the most, like as an Aussie group, is that we had one bad game and
Yep.
it was in the semi, and we went probably fell short of how we want to play the game more than anything else. We played 4 really, really good games in the round games to get us in the spot we were, and then just didn't quite turn up how we needed to. But it's exactly what you said. South Africa did it, New Zealand did it, got to the final and showed up when it really mattered.
How did like you're not used to losing? Like you're a team that we sat here and I just looked and said, okay, who plays Australia in the final?
You had a break in the world record as well.
Yeah. That was wickets. That wasn't my fault. That actually wickets weren't right at Sharjah, what they normally like. We'll look into that later, and that might be a reason New Zealand won.
Okay.
But we'll go over that later. But how did the girls react? Because some of the girls you're not used to losing. You just turn up. You got younger girls in the squad. You got different ages. How did they react?
It was funny. Actually, after I said the same thing, I said there's girls in this room that have experienced that for the first time.
Yeah.
Normally we find a way to win, and it's such a crap sort of sentence to use, but we've generally found ways to win. But I actually listened to Mel Jones after our game. She summed it up, and it's like I saw it as a real positive in that we went away from how we want to play the game and we got punished for it. And it's a really eye-opening moment for our squad to go, well, if we want to continue to be the best in the world, we have to play better more often and take the game on more often. And it was a real eye-opening experience. And I think that's happened to us a little bit over time. I think we lost in 2016 against the West Indies. Then we won 3 straight. Yep. We won 3 straight before that as well. And then went before we lost. And now we've lost again. Like, it's another opportunity for our group to reset the standard and go, we need to be better. And if we want to challenge in these tournaments again and win another 3 straight, it's so hard to do. And there's so much expectation on us. But it's like we can't get shy and go about it the way we did. So I think it's cool for us to experience that. You don't want to experience it in a World Cup, especially in a semi-final. You want to get to a final and try and find a way to win it. But I think it's a cool moment for us to reflect and go, let's get better.
Yeah. How's the foot?
Still attached.
Well, that's a positive.
Yeah, it's all right.
Should you have played the semi?
There's been a lot of discussion around that off air. There's only so many details I can give you on air.
We're not doctors.
At the end of the day, like, there was a real potential that I could have, but that was purely my decision, and the medical side of it was that
Bloody physios.
It would have been a real risk to do it, and there was no guarantee that if I did go out there and play, I'd be able to complete the game as well. So at the end of the day, it was my decision to rule myself out and say, give the team the best opportunity, for as less of a disruption as possible with me potentially playing, not playing. When you throw in the captain, the opener and the keeper, it's 3 people that you're basically disrupting if you're sort of half in, half out. So that, and then also it was just, if I could give myself 3 more days to potentially play in a final, then I would take that option. But I'm still full of regret, so thanks for bringing that up.
Okay.
The one thing, sorry, Adam, I want to consider is you got the IPL now. You've got the Women's Big Bash. Are teams not fearing you girls as much? Because I remember watching you go on the field. And you won the game before you get on. Happened to the great Australian teams. Then all of a sudden you mingle with them, say, "Oh, Healy's a good girl, Perry's a good girl." Like, I get on with. They're not as scary as I think they are on the field. Do you reckon there's a little bit of that?
It's definitely changed the way that I've played the international game, which is quite interesting. Like, I'm still hard out there, don't get me wrong, and still chirp as much as I can. But yeah, your relationships change with people over time, which is quite fascinating. But even you look at the South African side, like, you're right, Woolvart doesn't worry about Megan Shute running into bowl at her in tournament play because she's played against and with her for the last 10 years of WBBL. Annika Bosch as well, who went out there and made the runs for them in the semi. Exactly the same thing. She's had experience in the WBBL, so she's seen it all before. So maybe we'll pat ourselves on the back and say that we're helping everyone.
100%.
That's not the case, but it's cool to have these opportunities.
Yeah.
Even though Had's chimed in there with the cricketer question, I'm going to get back on the scent of being a journo and just follow up my question about how's the foot with, does it add any more motivation or lessen it or change anything in terms of, I want to get through to the next World Cup, 2025 in India for you?
I mean, that's always been on my radar, so that's fine. It's not changing any sort of motivation, but at the end of the day, like, I am injured and we've got a huge summer of cricket, which, there's 2 big ODI series in December, followed by an Ashes series at home. So there's a lot of cricket to be played this summer, and with regards to getting myself through that. It's going to be about managing
Mm.
what I can and can't do, and that could be disappointing for me at times throughout the summer because I want to play every single game of cricket, but there's potential that might not take place, so we'll just have to wait and see.
So it'll be management all the way through summer,
We'll just
pretty much.
there's a lot of unknown about what's actually happening in my
Yeah.
foot, so I think if kind of just play it by ear, but I'll be out there as much as I possibly can.
Fair enough. And that includes a bit of WBBL, which starts this Sunday. Strikers v Heat, then Renegades v Your Sixers at Adelaide Oval. Scorchers Stars over in the West. And then it just, there's games all over the place. I think the Sixers are back in Sydney, North Sydney Oval on
Tuesday.
Tuesday. So, yeah, it's back on basically every night.
Yep.
That is something that's very much on your radar still, isn't it?
Well,
Availability physically.
Yeah, well, I missed
pending.
played one game last year, missed that. So for me, I love the Sixers. I've been there all 10 years, so I want to be out there, be a part of it, to play alongside, Sophie Eccleston and Amelia Kerr as well. The opportunity to play with these players is what excites me. So I want to be out there as much as I possibly can. But the WBBL is great. It's a great time of year.
Who are the Sixers playing in the final?
Oh,
No, because I was going to say,
I reckon
who's
the
the team to beat? And
Scorchers.
you'll say,
Well, I just looked at the spring series results, and the Sixers and the Scorchers are down the bottom, but they're two teams that but have big international players that come in and do the job. So I wouldn't surprise me if those two teams are up there again.
and give us a left field X factor player to keep an eye on from somewhere, either
Oh.
internationally or a local player that we've seen a little bit of that's got a lot of improvement around the corner.
Well, I'm thinking about that, like left field international player. Shikha Pandey's playing for the Brisbane Heat. She should still be playing for India realistically, but I think some stuff went on over there, and she's not. So she's a really good
They're in
get.
the pot again. Hey,
A really good get. But
they're in the pot ahead of the
yeah,
summer.
it's an interesting. I've had this discussion with her. It's quite interesting. Young players, I don't know, Tess Flintoff or someone like that's going to be exciting. Yeah, but I tell you what, look out for Annabelle Sutherland. I think from all reports she's captaining the Stars this year, so it could be an interesting year for her. But if it comes off, it's going to go well.
Quick drinks break here on Willow Talk. Back in a moment with plenty more cricket chat, sundries, and some international cricket updates. Guys, some incredible international cricket to enjoy over the last week. And I know, Haz, we take the PI55 out of your relationship with New Zealand, but what a win that was. Set up, obviously, by bowling India out for 46. I thought the water I was drinking was actually tequila by the time I looked at the little scorecard and said, what? There were 9 for not many at that stage, and I could not believe what was happening in that test match on that first morning.
Did you hear the cheer when they went past 36 in the crowd?
Yes.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Well, it's interesting. India won the toss.
Yeah.
Won the toss and elected to back it, bowled out for 46.
Rohit Sharma actually said after,
Yeah.
sorry guys, I totally misread that.
Well, I don't know how he did, actually. The wicket was under cover. They missed the day because of rain. There was rain leading in.
Yeah.
But the one thing to take out of it, if we can get early wickets this summer, get the ball to swing a bit, and then you can put some pressure on that lower to middle order of India. But it's something we can have a look at. If the boys can get it to swing and get themselves in the game, this Indian batting lineup can be vulnerable.
Well, I'll tell you what, it was more that the ball was going up. So the swing was there and it played a little bit iffy, but the ball was bouncing, and
Holding.
if that's not good signs for over in Perth in the first test.
Oh,
I don't
Henry
know
looked
what
like
is.
Richard Hadley on
Yeah.
that first morning.
But the ball was going up, which
Steep.
very steep
Yeah.
bounce, which really troubled them.
Some great performance for New Zealand. Rachin Ravindra, his reputation enhanced by 134. India did reply with 462, and you went, okay, are they going to put all kinds of pressure and New Zealand get the wobbles on that little chase of 100 and not many? They run it down with 8 wickets to spare. They batted so well, all without Kane Williamson as well.
Well, Ravindra was the one that played outstanding. The way he used the depth of his crease to spin, he just, like at times, it's hard to look in control with the spin over there, but he looked in total control. I know he had an outstanding World Cup over there, enjoys conditions, but I tell you what, I haven't seen someone play that well from an opposition against India in their home conditions.
Well, that's probably as least threatening that I've seen Ashwin before, which is dangerous heading into the next test.
Yeah, and interesting, he only bowled 2 overs when New Zealand had 110 to chase in the
Mm.
fourth innings. It's like usually you'd say in a situation like that, he opens
Yeah.
with Bumrah.
It's like they almost had a really solid game plan against that Indian bowling attack, which obviously worked well. The conditions worked in their favour, don't get me wrong, but from all reports next week, it's going to be a raging Bunsen burner, so
Well-
it wouldn't surprise me if the spinners come into play, but doesn't matter. What happened, right? And you can rub that in.
Do you reckon the groundsman in Pune is under starters' instructions?
It'll be 3 wickets. New Zealand will go out to look and they'll say which one, and they say you don't have a choice yet. Durrell Sharma gets here and decides which one. I've got to scarify.
A quick one on Tim Southey. Pretty crucial 65 in New Zealand's first innings. He hit 4 sixes. He now has 93 sixes in 100 tests. That's a pretty good strike rate for a guy that's there for his bowling. Which brings me to a question, without notice, even though it's on the rundown. Best slogging tail-enders.
Whoa.
I love slogging tail-enders. I think all tail-enders should have to slog.
Yeah.
Open the stumps up.
But who's the best one that you've seen?
The one I enjoyed was Ryan Harris because he tried to bat like a batter and didn't work. Said, mate, your best option is to try to score. But it's funny, all tail-enders have it in them when they get short. Like when someone goes short and they say, all right, I'm going to move this game forward. I'm going to give myself room and play some shots. But they're good. Doug Bollinger was good. he just kept missing it. But, mate, Brett Lee.
Yeah,
mate,
he whacked him.
Mate, he hit him miles. Hit one out of the Gabba.
Yeah, the famous one.
You've either got to be a really slogging tail-ender and go hard or have a really good defence.
Who was the one that annoyed you the most in terms of he was good because if he got going, it annoyed the crap out of you because you just wanted to be back in
Dale
the sheds?
Steyn got us in a test match.
Yeah.
Controlling the game. He got 80 at the MCG. Remember when Huss went under that catch and just before he was about to catch it, moved because the sun got in his eye? We thought it wasn't going to cost us much, but Dale Steyn got 80 and won the test match.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Stuart Broad could get going from time to time.
He was a really good batter, actually, when he started his career. Then he got that nasty one that went through and busted his nose, and that sort of changed. But he got 160 at Lords, actually, against Pakistan. But by the end, he didn't get any in his half.
You can,
Yeah,
any,
fair.
any nominations here, Heels?
I actually really like watching Mitch bat. It makes me laugh.
Does that disrespect him in some way because he's
No.
actually not a tail ender? He like comes in at 8 or 9.
Well, 9. Him and Pat just swap for fun. I
Yeah,
think it's like
true.
Pat doesn't want to go in, or
Is there a
vice
rivalry
versa.
there with the bat?
I feel like it's whoever's made the most runs in the innings before goes first. I think that I don't actually know the answer to that. We
That's
could
really
ask him.
professional.
Yeah.
I would like to look with that relationship when the new ball's due,
Yeah.
where you
Mitch, off you go,
Yeah.
son.
get out there, just get through this.
Well, I mean, he almost faced 100 balls today in the Shield game and didn't make many. And I was like waiting for him to start slogging them, and never got the chance.
Yeah.
So,
The
but
keepers used to have. Remember, you're too young, but when we started our career, you were the slogging
Yeah.
tail ender, and the night watchman if you needed to, and that's when you got the opportunity to bat. But like Gilly ruined it. We
Yeah,
had, we had
Adam
to
Gilchrist,
change, and Sangakkara. But the keepers were the ones just could get duck, 5 and slog a good 40 off 20, and you've done your job.
Now, England, Pakistan. Pakistan won the second test against England on a day 9 pitch in Multan because they
Loved
used the
it.
same pitch for the second test. This is great.
Loved
They
it.
go to Rawalpindi, and we speak of decks that are meant to turn. Well, this one, they're throwing everything at it. We'll get to that in a moment. But England, Noman Ali, 11 wickets, and Sajid Khan, 9 wickets. First time since 1972 when Bob Massey and DK Lilly, the two bowlers, took all 20 wickets in a match. Extraordinary win. What did that, firstly, result tell you about Pakistan and also about England, Bazball, and on wickets that favour the slower bowling?
I don't think it changes with the Bazball approach. They've played really well. They've got a good record in Pakistan. They've won a test match in.
It's where Bazball kind of started.
Yeah, but the
Last
other
tour.
things,
on the highway.
the wickets they've done, they've prepared for them in India and Pakistan have been extreme. So it makes the game a lot closer. I think England will come out and play good cricket on this one. This one will turn again, but they'll be prepared.
So they've got heaters
Yeah.
and dryers.
It's ridiculous.
I read this morning, Mike Atherton did a report. He said it's pretty warm still over there at the moment. They left it uncovered for 3 days in the sun. So
Yeah, with heaters.
I can't imagine Poor old Gussie Atkinson's coming back in for this test. They're picking 3 spinners apparently, England. So, yeah, are you okay with the manipulation of the surface like this, Heels?
I'm okay with it, and I only say that because I get a little bit jealous that we don't do it as much over here and use it to our advantage as much. We tend to create wickets that'll go for 5 days so that hospitality can get their money's worth. But
Well, that's where the money's at.
yeah, I don't mind it. I really rated that they played on the same wicket. I mean, do it. Why not?
I liked it too.
It was awesome.
Are you okay with it, like getting the basically going
I
to the
love
local
it.
restaurants and getting heaters
love
out
it.
and everything like that?
Yep.
Yeah, on
Fantastic.
the answer, like my response to that Bazball question was the only thing it does do when wickets do a little bit is it brings the other side back into play because they're always going to give you an opportunity to get back into the game. That's what Bazball does do.
Yeah.
So it does create an interesting contest in that regard.
Just a little number before we move on to our next one. Joe Root in 2024 averages 93 in wins and 33 in defeats. Just a stat.
So you're saying
Bangladesh.
Bazball relies on Joe Root? Is that what you're
100%
saying?
it does.
It's root ball.
Yeah, well, that just proves.
Hmm.
You have everyone go as hard as you can around, and Joe Root will fix it.
Hmm.
It's basically what happens. You're the class, you hold
Yeah.
it together. We used to do it with the Sixers. We used to say everyone's going to go hard, no matter what the situation
Were you the
is.
classy one?
Smitty, can you
Oh,
fix it?
I was like, where
Whether
are you
you've
going
got
to
to
go
go
with this?
hard, survive. No, I was going hard. That was our game plan.
Him block. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
But I'll tell you what, it does, Ben Stokes looks a little confused about his role in that regard. Like, the way that he got out,
He's confused where his bat is.
well, the way that he got out was the way that he got out, but he was, playing a bit of a holding one end role in that regard, and then all of a sudden ran down the wicket and threw his bat. But, feel like his role's confused in it.
Have you seen anything like that?
Yeah.
Where? Who?
The one that hit Pete Neville, who
Yeah.
let go of that bat? I've forgotten who that was in Big Bash.
I can't remember that. I remember Zampa ran him out when he got hit with the ball, cut off Zampa's nose. But
Yeah.
I can't remember the one who hit Pete Neville. But Stokes' best innings have been, you talk about Bazball, but it's been when they've been out of the game and he's had to work his way into the innings and accelerate at the end. That stat to me is the obvious one on how you go about Bazball. If you get Joe Root early, and he hasn't scored 100 here in Australia when you come out, it's going to be an enormous wicket because, yes, we know the others have got one way to go, and McCullum's done a really good job of clearing their head. But the glue to Bazball is the batsmanship of Joe Root.
And a Bangladesh South Africa mention as well. Kagiso Rabada, friend of the show, took his 300th Test wicket in his 61st match on day one against Bangladesh. Rabada is the fastest bowler to 300 wickets in terms of balls bowled. There before Waqar Yunus by about 800 deliveries. So that's incredible. He averages 21, takes a wicket every 39 balls, best ever strike rate. And the top 3 in the world by the rankings, he's actually the number 4 quick in the world, or equal, actually, number 3. Bumrah is number 1, Hazelwood number 2, Pat number 3, Rabada equal number 3 with Pat. Fair enough rankings. I got those rankings about right, have
Yeah.
they? Yeah, fair enough.
Well, can I ask a question? How come when the bowlers they always put their average? Why don't they put their strike rate?
I've got no answer to that.
Can we change cricket?
Yeah, you can.
We're trying to here.
You can
Great.
do
I
what you
mean,
want.
average, great. You go
Yeah.
for 17. Your average is 17.
Yeah.
But what's your strike rate?
Agree.
If you take a wicket every 16 deliveries, you're going to be pretty good.
By the way, it was
I agree with you.
Brad Hodges' bat that hit Peter Neville.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
Just a little update.
I tell you, who used to
on the
do
run.
it a lot.
Yeah.
Was Dwayne Bravo.
Yeah?
He stood a lot. Like he would have
Yeah.
done it with the big 4 or 5 times I've seen him do it.
Scary being a keeper.
Mm.
I got hit.
Your choice, though.
I got hit with the bat
Not always.
after my year 10 formal.
Really?
I was keeping, no
Yeah.
helmet, and they let the bat go. He was lucky I hadn't slept
Yeah.
and had a good night the night before. Year 12 formal.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're in year 10. Hang on,
No,
careful where you're
no,
going
wait,
Year
with
wait,
this
wait.
12,
story.
sorry, year 12
It is
formal.
Queanbeyan.
Oh,
So
right, year 12. And you were
Yeah,
21.
nah.
Yeah.
Year 12 formal.
grow up quick in Queanbeyan, don't you? Yeah. You're 12 formal, and you played cricket the next day.
Yeah.
You do love the game.
I was there.
Physically, not mentally.
But I remember getting hit with the bat.
Sundries. last week we brought you the tale of the fantastic fill-in. Glenn Maxwell returned to second grade and or second 11 cricket, and on the online scorecard had him as fill-in.
Oh.
Well, Stuart's been on touch on Instagram. He sent us a message. He says, in 2010, we had a sportsman's dinner in Mount Isa. It coincided with the annual six-a-side cricket comp. I put a team down from the Red Earth Hotel and dragged Jimmy Ma down for a hit. I put his name down as Frank Cotton. Obvious link to Fine Cotton, which also happened in Queensland. So Stuart and Jimmy have put on 112 in 6 overs, and he got 8 of them, Stewie, which really only should have been a 5 as I slapped one down the long off to give Marbo the strike, but old mate misfielded it and went for 4. Jimmy had consumed at least 18 pots middies by the time I dragged him out of the Tab public bar. He batted with 1 pad on. A bowler sledged him, and he hit the biggest 6 I've ever seen. Sorry. He hit the biggest 6 he's ever seen, and Stuart quotes what Jimmy said to the bowler. I can barely get this out. So, see that one, champ? I can't get it out.
I'll get it.
You get it. You get it. Go over to Hills to read
Like
it
you
out.
can imagine in Jimmy Ma's voice. See that one, champ? That landed in the school. In 5 years' time, they'll say it landed on the road down there, but they'll never remember who bowled it.
Marbo would exactly.
He would have came straight
and
out
at
of
the
his
end of it, he
mouth.
would have said, "Not bad, Joe." He's a character, Marbo.
Oh yeah. Yes, exactly.
That's how he played shield cricket.
You know-
actually.
If anyone knows him or knows where he is, can you let us know? Because we want to get him on the show.
The bowler.
Jimmy
Oh.
Marr.
I was going to say, you know how people ask you like goals for retirement? That. What are you going to do after you finish playing cricket? That story.
I just love the fact he champed him after hitting the biggest 6 known to man as well.
He's a character. Marbo.
Oh, man. Okay, Hilton Cartwright. His baby dash, WA all-rounder Hilton Cartwright, ended T on day 2 against Tasmania at the Wacker with 52 to his name. But he didn't return to the field. He made a mad dash to be present for the birth of his second child, a boy. Congratulations to the Cartwrights. He was born in the early hours of Tuesday morning. He returned on day 3 and made 65. And this is well timed because on day 4, Bo Webster, friend of the show, hit Hilton to bring into question whether there'll be a third addition to the family, if you know what I mean. Poor old Hilton was feeling it. So, yeah, congratulations to the Cartwrights, and that's a fair way to do things if you're going to be a good dad.
Cool story.
Great
Very
story.
cool
yeah.
story. Wouldn't have happened in the old days. Thankfully,
it
it happens in the new age days. No, old days, I'm talking the 70s, as if that would have happened.
No
in the
way.
60s and
Yeah.
70s.
For
No
the two
chance.
teams to agree that that's okay too. I like that. That's cool.
Well, when you were looking at me then when you said old days.
Yeah.
You're
70s.
47, mate. One Day Cup trophy name shortlist. This is out. Dean Jones, Andrew Simons and Michael Bevan have made the shortlist for the naming of the men's One Day Cup trophy. The name will be revealed ahead of the final early next year. I have an idea.
Mm.
So those 3 names, 2 of them don't deserve to miss out. And I'm not coming up with a hyphenated solution to all of this and naming it after all 3. However, whoever gets the nod gets the nod. But the player of the final and the player of the season has the medals named after them. The 2 that miss out, if you like, on the accolades
Nice.
for the winner.
Nice
Love it.
touch.
Yes?
Mm.
Nice touch.
What
Yeah.
I want to know
Mm?
is who told you that? You didn't come up that with
Yeah.
No. I came up with by myself.
Well, there'll be an investigation into that, but outstanding.
Broken
I
clocks.
like it.
Right twice every single day.
Do we
Just got that one
Put
out.
that in writing to Cricket Australia.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it might. Oh,
Yeah.
no.
It'll come out.
Obviously, they all listen to this, don't they?
Yep.
Jollymont. MS Dhoni playing on. Here's a real shock. Chennai Super Kings still waiting on MS Dhoni if he'll continue playing in the IPL. The retention deadline is October 31. He's playing on.
I hope so.
He has to, doesn't he?
Yeah,
He's like signed on for 45 years. So he's doomed.
I mean, either way, he's going to be there as an ambassador, getting paid the same.
Yeah,
So,
or he'll be coach.
Yeah.
So-
Well,
Coach.
you look
Yeah.
forward to playing Chennai when he's there. Mate, the crowd's amazing.
is he part of the ownership group?
Well, he should be.
He's
Yeah,
probably
he
got
brings
something to say in
everyone
it.
through the gate. But
Hmm.
mate, last year he went well.
Mm.
His keeping was outstanding. He got over a knee injury from the previous season. And he came out and his strike rate was like 200 and something. He just came out and banged 4s and 6s in the last 2 overs and got the total from a 160 to a 190 for Chennai, which helped them win a lot of the games. I hope he plays on just for the league's sake.
And Hills, this one, a bit of sad news, but I don't think it's a massive surprise given that the Commonwealth Games has somehow been resuscitated after good old Dan Andrews said yes and then he said no and pulled out of the thing. And it's going to be in Glasgow in 2026, but it's like a half edition because they've cut half the sports and included in the cull is cricket. Do you understand? Or
Yeah,
are you
it's
bit-
fine.
Yeah.
What'd you do?
We thoroughly enjoyed ourselves, not as much as was you in the one
No,
before
I
that.
just missed it.
Yeah. Well, the whole time leading into that Com Games, we basically got told, do not do what the boys did.
In
And that was-
1998?
yeah.
Yeah. in
Apparently they
KO.
were horrific. So we tried to give it a nudge, but we were never
You
as
were in
bad
the
as
middle
them.
of COVID. You actually had a player test positive to COVID,
Yeah.
didn't you?
In
on
the
day?
final.
In the final.
She was the first one to do it. Look how many have played with COVID since. It's
exactly.
been fine.
Trendsetter.
Yeah.
But yeah, the cricket,
fair
there's
enough.
a number of sports. 3 and 3 basketball made the cut though.
Not a heap. Well, there's not a heap of cricket in Scotland either. Let's be real.
What about we bring in backyard cricket into the Commonwealth Games? Just what, less numbers?
Well,
3 on
let's
3?
play the
Bring on
way
six-a-side.
Marbo played.
Yeah. Yeah. The six-a-side.
Yeah.
One of the great stories.
Yeah.
Thank you again to Stuart on Instagram for sending that. If you've got stories like that, maybe over this summer you got someone who's played at a level and they're coming down to play 4th grade or whatever, let us know. Outstanding stories. Love those stories. Love this episode as well. Got through a bit. Went for about 2.5 hours that.
Felt like
great.
15 minutes with you,
Yeah,
Adam.
it was Baz Ball of podcast, wasn't it?
Mm.
Just went quick, real quick. Heels, great to see you again.
Great to be back. Thanks.
See you soon. And Hads, happy birthday once
Thank
more.
you. Keep it real.
Catch you soon on Willow Talk. Yeah, thanks for watching the Willow Talk podcast on YouTube. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't have to miss an episode wherever you are. And while you're at it, check out these videos up here. They're mostly good.